Okay, let's start. So this one. So I prepared the page already because I wanted to talk about something. There's something else. Recaptcha. Well, we'll see that. But there was an issue. Maybe someone saw that I commented on an issue last week, like on Thursday, and I said we'll talk about it during next meeting. Can someone remind me which one it was?
I don't remember.
I can't remember what it was because he was explaining something and I didn't understand what he meant at first.
Was it iDecorator?
iDecorator, no. No.
Was it something with NuGet, maybe? Or resources? Those are two hot topics.
Can I see my activity on GitHub somehow? Public activity. So it's not that far away. 4 days ago, commits commented on pull requests. And that's it. No, that's further than that. I commented on the issue. And I told the guy to join the meeting. If you're here, please write something and say something. Can't remember. Sorry. So we'll go on. So today, status as usual, demos. Who's got some demos? Please have some demos. I don't have any. Topics change, default gallery, feed URL, release, but we'll see. Any other topic I'm missing? Antoine to the rescue. Okay, thank you. That's this one. Yeah, I was almost sure it was the guy with the Humblot issues. So what is the issue about content picture? Oh, yeah, this is a new feature he's wanting. Okay, we'll talk about this one then. Keep it open. Okay. This one. Okay, this way I won't forget. Okay, good. Yeah, if you have any other topics, please say something or write it. Benedek, what are the videos?
Yeah, I just explained in the chat that the videos are actually ready but not uploaded. I will compile some notes and all the videos, including today, will be uploaded and ready this week. So yeah, sorry about the delay.
Cut, we want uncut. Okay, status then, to see what happened past week. Many commits, huge. So this is where we stopped last week. Then, so yeah, the main task from last week's meeting was to ship 193 and 1.10, which is what I focused on. So all the fixes and activity you will see here is about preparing the releases, so fixing all the blocking bugs. So this one, listing unlistable types in content list, is about being able to see the layouts where, so in the admin, when you click on layouts, you should be able to see the layouts, but it was broken somehow because the layouts admin page is just reusing the contents list page just for the layout type. But layout is not a listable type, so the contents page will not show it. So this fix is about, even if the type is not listable, it will be listed if this is explicitly this type that is requested in a contents list. Meaning you won't see it in the list of available types when you go on the drop down on the contents page, but if you explicitly ask for a specific type, it will be used. So that fixes the issue. And this way also, if you want to create some admin links pointing to specific content types, you can do that, even if they are not listable. This one was to fix null ref in the export. I think this is coming from some user, but he didn't create a PR, he just wrote the code to fix it. So it's just checking if the content item is not null. Okay, it worked. This one from Daniel updating the Azure solution to bring the NuGet packages which are missing. This one, so yeah, Daniel, if you want to explain.
Yeah, for as long back as I can remember, after switching to VS 2015, there's always been a bunch of compiler errors showing up whenever you open up a Razor view in one of the Orchard modules or themes. And I've been meaning to track down why, and this time I finally took the time, and I concluded that it was because we needed a
Nope, because you see I'm on 193.19x and it works. So I don't know.
It might be due to something that it was introduced in dev before.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not really sure.
Possible.
But so anyway, I tracked it down to a missing reference in webconfig to system.core. And as soon as I added that back in to all of the webconfig files of themes and modules, the error went away. So I did that in all of them. That's why there's so many files in this commit.
Yeah, and yeah, okay. And the next page I will open, this one is for later. Fixing object dumper unit tests. So I also tried to fix some unit tests. This one was because it's Benedek who broke it. Benedek, you remember when we talked about the content property of the content item? So now we have a new content property in the content item which returns itself as a dynamic. And this one, as a consequence, was written by the dumper. And it will break the unit test. So I found this one and fixed this.
Sorry.
This way the unit tests were passing again. But that's fine. Adding default grid system to the theme machine. Yeah, this one also, so this one is a breaking change that needs to be documented on the release notes. The bug was that I think so. Yeah, Soteris mentioned that the layout menu is including this CSS by default, default grid CSS, which is a default grid system. Okay, the theme machine would have it automatically because it's using the layouts. Well, if you have a theme that is using the layouts, then it will render this style, okay, from the layouts module. But this style sheet contains some classes like row or spans that could conflict with Bootstrap if your theme is using Bootstrap. And so the goal of this change is to have the file inside the theme machine and also inside the layout. When you're in the admin, it's using the one from the module, and when you are in the theme machine, then it's loading the one from the theme machine. Which means if you have a own custom type and you use Bootstrap, it won't download this file. And if you depend, or if you inherit from the theme machine, you will have it, and then you will have to override the layout to remove it, because now it's included in the layout. So the breaking change is that if you're using the theme machine, you might have to add the file in your assets. Okay. Or there will be a 404 not found, which is not a big issue. It won't break websites, but it will not find this style, which you're not supposed, I assume you should not have to use. That's the change. This one from Daniel, to allow Roslyn compilation of the views. And yeah, the change is about, oh, I clicked on the wrong file, to define these compilers for the code DOM, which will then be used when compiling a Razor view. And technically what happens is that there are two packages for that. Not this file. This file, not this file.
You should be looking for Orchard Web.
Yep. Modules, .modules. It's this one. Yes, two packages. So the first one is the actual one which will replace the code DOM in the web config. And this one is the set of binaries of the compilers, like csc.exe and vbc.exe, which are then copied in the bin folder of the web app. And when a view has to be compiled, it will request those compilers. So it changes some things. I'm still working on that. For instance, the SpecFlow packages, the SpecFlow tests need to be changed also to contain these binaries. And I just found out also that when you do a precompiled build, here, if you go to the bin, there is a Roslyn here, but it's almost empty. And the executables are the top level, which I don't think is what the web app is looking for. I'm not sure, I have to check that. But it's not this is not this way when I go in Orchard Web bin. There is a Roslyn folder with everything inside. So I need to understand which one is right. And fix the precompiled output, and also probably the publish from Visual Studio, by the way. So there are some changes, but this is the same action as what we do for SQL C binaries. So the how to copy these files is a well-known issue.
Somebody asked on, well, actually, they raised an issue on GitHub on this.
Yep, I saw that.
Where they asked if this would also address compile the dynamic compilation model.
It will not, because I think it's different. It's the build provider. I think it's different.
The build manager, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
so
different.
So where does that one get its compiler from?
Let me show you. If I go to this web config,
ah, right.
Get default compiler type for language, and maybe compiler option, you see, and we can pass the same options which are in your web config, like language version equals 6, something like that. And that might work.
Yep.
Okay. If you want to comment on the issue or try that.
Oh, I'll try it out actually. But that would require having what would you have to have installed on your server for that to work?
No idea. 4.6 maybe? No, I don't know. No, I don't know. No idea. I have no idea. So
4.6 would be my guess.
I don't know. Let me also look at what I wrote here. This code could be used to define compilation flag with the current Orchard version, but it's not compatible. So we did that, yes, we did that, Orchard version. Okay, because we don't support Medium Trust anymore. And I remember at some point this was commented, and now, yeah, we could even remove this comment. Completely orthogonal, but yeah, just because I saw that, yeah. one. And that's it. And I assume, just to show that it was working, Daniel also changed this, or maybe it was not on purpose. Oh, where is that? I'm one that free, so I need to look into this one. You changed this file, which is using the string interpolation.
Yes, as a proof of concept that this would work.
And it's interesting because I saw this issue in my SpecFlow test, then I remembered what I had broken. And you see dollar quotes, and then using the curly braces to inject something. We could discuss using datetime now.here. It's fine. It will work in most of the cases. To do things right, we should have used iClock and time zones. But
that's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, and what happens during localization? Because it's possible that you can break it. If you
Yeah, what I should have done actually is just put the literal 2010 as an integer in those curly braces instead of just going to the system clock for it. That would have been the same test. It would still have used string interpolation.
Mm-hmm.
I could change that back, actually. That might be wise. Because as you say, translation would be broken.
Yeah, you are breaking this thing, yeah. And also, in terms of legal issues, you don't need to change the year. The first year that it was already sufficient. So, no, doesn't matter.
Right.
It's just a theme machine. That's fine. But yeah, for localization, it might be interesting to change it at least. Then updated code base to target the net. Oh, again, Daniel, I didn't see that. Oh yes, I saw that because we talked about it, and I even got the official answer that 4.5.2 is the latest version that is actually mandatory on Windows Update. 4.6.1 is already available. Oh no, will be available soon on Windows Update, but not mandatory, like as a recommendation. Please upgrade to 4.6.1. So we have to use 4.5.2. Okay, because this is the minimum version which is still supported, and because this is the maximum version which is available on Windows Update as a mandatory update, which also triggers the fact that 193 is currently still targeting 4.5.1. I'm not sure we want to bump 193 to 4.5.2 because this is the latest this is the last version of 1.9 that will be updated. And it's also changing all the web configs, so I will keep 4.5.1 on 193 and 4.5.2 on dev branch. So I'll keep it this way. So 4.5.2 now is the minimum on 1.10. This one, creating new identities and cloning. So this was a blocking issue also about the fact that when we clone an object, we have to clone the identities. And they were cloned before this change by just appending -copy on the identity, which will not be compatible with some identities. So to fix that, I have added new handlers on cloning, which also makes sense. So this way we can intercept when an object is cloned and do whatever we want on that. And typically the identity managers will do something. So for instance, the identity, where is that? Yes, this one, identity part handler. When an object is cloned, it will generate a new identity to it. A nice one, not with -copy. So there won't be any conflict and it will be a perfect value. So very simple change, just adding more events to the content handler. Cloning. And it fixes two issues. Two issues were related for this one. Oh yes. Oh, very interesting one. Let me show you. crazy. It's oops. How I found out about the fix. Orchard. So this one bug in cloning, which was so it's an old bug, 2013. Okay, as soon as we implemented cloning, there was the issue. And then the other one, 5762. This one seems like, how is that related? No. No, my bad. The two of them are mentioning analysis. So this is another thing then. Maybe later. Okay. Okay, we'll see. This I'm talking about something else. You will see. So cloning is fixed. Whitelisting packages config as non-targets in project. Yeah. So when I will run the build precompile, it will complain that some files were not included as content in the solution. So what I did, and packages.config should not be included as content, so I just changed the rule to check the project files to whitelist the packages.config file. Removing unknown binaries. Oh yes, this one. I don't know. I think it was from Rob when he implemented the NuGet thing. I found these executables in the solution, so I think I just removed it. Yeah, I just removed it because it didn't make sense. Maybe a mistake. Client perf counters installer. Okay, so maybe something which leaked their solution. This one, then I have a bunch of changes about the build system with NuGet exe, with the NuGet packages. So we need to restore the packages before building. And then I had other issues like when building, it's requiring slow cheetah, which is processing the configuration files by applying configuration transformations, and which meant we needed the tool to be available before the build. So and the issue was mostly from the CI. So I played a lot with how to fix that, and finally I found something. Restoring NuGet NUnit console runner, same thing. The CI is requiring the NUnit console runner, so I had to put it back in the lib folder. It was removed and using a NuGet package, but not the NUnit console. Just the NUnit framework was using a NuGet package, which is fine. But the console application needs to be in the lib folder. So I restored it. It's back in the lib. This is a merge. Fixing unit test because of some changes in the services, which required some cache, and also this one. A null check which was wrong for the tokens. So there was a null check here, but actually when it's null, we still need to render. So when we don't find a token, we still need to render an empty string. Because of the previous code, it was not rendering the token at all. So it was an issue. This file, I'm now ignoring it because whenever we save it, whenever we commit, sometimes it will change the order of these two lines, and then it will appear in the history, and we don't want to see that every time we commit something. And so yeah, just as a reminder, if you change the rebracer file, you will have to explicitly add it to the commit. It won't be detected. This one, I removed some things which were in the lib that can be downloaded from NuGet. So playing with the MS build to fix it on the CI. In the end, we have it. This is the pull request from Thursday. And at that point, I had fixed all the blocking bugs for 110 and 193. Mentioning at that point. Yeah, pull request. This one is to display the admin link instead of the edit link for a container. Just for your information, the difference between the admin link and the edit link. The edit link will edit a content item. The admin link will, this link is to a link to the edit page of the content item, and this link is for the view in the admin of the content item. Sometimes there are views in the admin for a content item. Most of the time this is the edit. So for instance, for a page, the admin link and the edit link are the same, just editing. But for a container, the admin link will display the list of the contained items, and the edit link will edit the properties of the container. Typically for the, you see with the blog, when you click on the blog page, on the admin, you see all the posts for this blog and the properties link to edit the blog properties. So this is a distinction between edit link to edit the properties of the blog and admin link to list all the posts from the blog. So same thing with all the containers. So this one was wrong, it was fixed by pull request. This one is to store the nullable enums in the info set. This one is, I don't remember, but it seemed legit. Lazy initialization of something. Of the work context state provider. Okay. Fixing MS build script again for the CI. And it's not the last time. Yeah, then I added this one to the lib because it was missing. Updated the credits with what I found, like we are not using NTLR anymore. We were missing Kamen.js for the image editor. I removed Clay because we dropped it 4 years ago. I added JSON.NET, which was missing, Margon Sharp. I don't know what it is. This change, maybe my editor, which broke some stuff. And so I resolved the issue, but I reopened it, or I reassigned it for the next version. So we have we update the file again. Fixing homepage service. Oh yeah. This is the one which was actually related to another issue. Very interesting. I didn't write the. No, I didn't write the bugs which were related to this one. That's weird. Or I closed them directly, maybe. So this one is Sipke here.
I'm here.
Okay, we still like you, Sipke, but look at the code. Maybe you saw that already. So Sipke wrote the alias module, and I think Jean-Thierry also was working on that, yes. And there was an issue with, Jean-Thierry had proposed an issue because he found an issue during imports, I think. And also Sipke found was seeing some bugs when sometimes assigning the page. And the issue actually was there in the alias storage on the lookup here. Is that it? Get. Yes, get for a path. That's not it. Why did I fix? Don't even remember. Crazy.
So that change in alias storage, is that just an optimization?
Wait. So here there are optimization like this one. For instance, what I'm doing now, because this service is a scope service, is a dependency, I'm saving the home alias route in the request, so that if it's requested 3 times during the request, which was the case, now it's just doing 1 query to the database. Okay, this is the first optimization. You see here, if it's null, then I'm loading it, and then reusing that again and again. This is the first change, optimization. This is another optimization. First is always better than single. Single will throw an exception if it's not unique. I understand this one is unique, but as a general rule, we should try not to use single anytime. Because if we have 10 items, it will check all the items first. And sometimes we just want the first, so it's better to use first. So just.
But in this case, it doesn't seem better to use first or default, because you know always it will be single. So it's weird that you.
I mentioned it. It's because it's just so that we don't use single. There is no advantage of using single over first. Almost never.
I disagree. I think it's an error verification thing. You wanted to throw if for some reason you end up with more elements in the result.
But here, look at that. It won't. There's a slice. Yeah, okay, you wanted to throw, but why would? Yeah.
I think it's just more semantically correct to do it with a single. Just to protect you from yourself. Sort of like a contract assertion, if you will.
Then if we want to be consistent, everywhere we have a count of something, we should check if there is this actual count and throw an exception. We never do that. We just, okay, we have 10 items because we loaded 10 items. You see, that's we never do that. I don't disagree. You're right, but at the same time, sometimes we do single, and no, we don't want to check if there is single. We just want the first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But which one is the case here?
No, here was just to prevent to use single by default.
So here it doesn't really matter if you end up with more elements. You just want the first one anyway. Yeah, and in that case, I agree that single is the correct one.
But we always want a single one in this case, and the reason I'm using slice is because I'm doing a query based on the display alias equals alias, because there's no get equivalent where you can provide your own predicates.
Let's say there are 2 items in the database with the same display alias, which is wrong. Here we will get the first one because of the slice.
Yeah, okay. So
single will not show any issue from the database.
That's true, yeah. The slice negates the advantage of using single in this case.
Yeah, you always end up with a single item.
So if there is 0, you get null. If there is 1, you get the first. So, okay.
Yeah, true.
But maybe the issue will be more explicit in the other usages of single over the orchard code. So, just. So nothing related to this issue, actually, to the current issue. This was the issue. Yes, this was the issue. So first of default, yes, so here, get aliases. So it gets all the aliases from this map. A map is just a list of aliases for a specific area. So it gets all the aliases and says, give me the first of default, the first or default, so the first one which is not empty. Okay? And it doesn't mean you get the home page. You could get something else. And here in this case, what we want is the one that matches the home alias route. So we need to get the first one, which has the same route as the one we're looking for.
Oh, of course.
Because we want the alias for the home page. What is the alias for the home page? Not the first one you have in your list, which might be the home page actually most of the times, but it was just by chance. So
that explains, because I didn't understand this structure exactly, and this worked most of the time.
Nobody does. Don't worry, nobody does. Pete, there are 2 guys in the world who understand that. Lewis, who wrote it at first, and then Pete Hurst, who understood that and made it better or finished the work. I'm like, yeah. That's it. So yeah, we're just looking for isSame route, and isSame route is now a new method which will check that the 2 routes have the same number of key value pairs, and then all the values are the same. And there is a later change reminded by Jean-Thierry, which is to check the values in a case insensitive way. Okay, and then we find the correct route, and yes, it should not be null either. Okay, it should not be empty. And this way we find the alias. And then it worked. And it fixed the issue, which was actually another issue. So this one, what is this request? Oh yeah, this one is an optimization on the get from a path, because actually when we do get the alias from a path, we already have all the aliases in memory. It's called the alias holder. So we can just look into memory to get the alias. We don't need to look into the database. And there is an optimization also, which is most of the aliases are for content items. So I'm looking for the map for contents module first, and if not found, then I'm looking into each other. Okay, so that's the optimization too. And this bug, this fix, also fixed an import issue for the taxonomies, because taxonomies rely a lot on hierarchies in their URLs, and the import script that the dev provided us was failing with this issue, because actually the taxonomy and the terms had the same prefix in the name, and then it will find the incorrect homepage and reassign and something crazy. And it was related. And I'm like, yeah, with one fix, we fixed 2 bugs. I like it. That's it. Did I miss any questions? Adding confirmation for deleting taxonomies. This way, and while I was playing to repro the bug, I found out that there was no, when you want to delete a taxonomy, there was no, hey, are you sure you want to delete taxonomy? And also that it was not accepting only posts. It should, because it's updating the state. So the issue is fixed now. It was a new issue I created specifically. This one, update front-end culture selector from Jean-Thierry. We trust him, and I think someone validated the change, so the pull request was merged. Same thing. This one prevents users renaming their root folders. So with the new feature about manage own media item, when you will go on if you just have this permission, manage own media content, you will go on your page, you will just see your folder, but at first no folder will be selected in the UI, and then you could see the edit folder or the rename folder button. You will be able to click on that and rename your own folder to something else. So if I am, like, for instance, user 1, I could say edit, and I will rename my own folder, user 1, to something else, like admin, for instance. And then, because you are redirected to your own homepage, it will recreate your folder, user 1. But you will be able to create another folder in the media, so with your content. So now this is fixed by selecting at first the recent tab, and also preventing in the controller to rename your folder, your root folder, if you just have this authorization. So you can't rename the root folder. Then merging 1 and X in 1 and 10. This is the fix on the alias to check the values of the route with ordinal ignore case. Issue is fixing a theme, fetching a theme and rendering shapes from a background thread. Oh, Piotr, I saw did some check if the theme is available to generate links, for instance. So it was good on Wine and X. Then this one is still open because I need to understand what's happening. Sipke fixed the reCAPTCHA very well, by the way, and it's interesting because it was right. The reCAPTCHA module was wrong because it was just creating an error on the notifications zone, which is not invalidating the model. So what it's doing now is adding a model error if the reCAPTCHA is wrong, which actually makes it work now. So, which is good. The only issue I have is that it's a fix in the dev branch, and it should be a fix in the 1 and X branch.
This issue was caused by a recent update to the reCAPTCHA by updating to using the latest reCAPTCHA.
Yes, reCAPTCHA 2.
Yeah, exactly. So
I saw that.
Are we using that in 1 and X?
But I think the reCAPTCHA 2 was changing your validator, which is actually the elements. So we have the reCAPTCHA driver and the reCAPTCHA element. And the element was rightly using the reCAPTCHA 2, and the code was right. So we have 4 versions, 2 versions in 1.9x, 2 versions in devs. We need to have the same code everywhere. So that's why I'm saying this bug is not finished, because we need to have the same implementation in the 4 versions.
Yes.
So I will work on that. This one is to copy the Roslyn binaries when we execute the SpecFlow test. And this one is to actually...
So does that actually fix the spec flows, Sebastian?
One more step to go. So yeah, this fixed some things, okay? Because on the CI it was complaining about not being able to find the vbc.exe file, and I'm like, okay, why is it missing? Because there is NuGet package, and I looked into the initialization code, and we do it for the SQL C. We also copy it dynamically when we set up the Orchard folder to run the SpecFlow test. So I did the same thing with the Roslyn folder because I saw that it was copying that. But now, then it was complaining about something else, like tenant not initialized or initializing tenant, something like that. Please come back later. And this is typical when we change the list of modules and we don't update the SpecFlow test for that. And I was thinking that it was because of the resources module, but no, Sipke updated the SpecFlow test correctly by adding the resources and removing jQuery. And I look one by one to the modules, and the workflows are requiring Orchard conditions, which was missing. So now I could run some tests on my box, and I tried to push it on the CI. It's still not working on the CI, but I'm doing some progress on that. So it's just painful, but it will work at some point. So that's the current state. Yeah, so most of the work was about fixing the bugs to be able to release 1.10 and 1.9.3, and now releases reCAPTCHA consistent reCAPTCHA validation. Okay. What else? SpecFlow test. This is what I am missing. Anything else? Good. So this one topic.
Oh, actually, one more thing. I was I meant to do that whole reformatting job before we do the release, but not too many people have commented on the thread I started on GitHub where I proposed those formats. So I'd like some more input from the committee as sort of a go-ahead before I actually do that. Yeah, just let me find it real quick.
I could open my Skype, but no.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go look for it. Give me 2 seconds. It has the word guidelines in the...
I can try to search it also.
Yeah, it's number 6072. I'll paste in the link now.
Lit.
Okay.
So no comments. Okay, so well, you want to summarize your ideas and your questions and what is to be validated?
Yeah, so what I'm proposing here is a little beyond just the guidelines themselves. I also propose that they should be documented, and maybe we create a VS settings file that people can just import and use whenever they're editing Orchard core in order to more easily get the editor to help you maintain the correct formatting. But what I'd like people's input on is the guidelines themselves. So I've divided that into these main elements: the tab settings, and indentation, and then new lines and brace positions, and then spacing. And I go into a bit more detail on each, on how I think we should configure them. And most of it is just what I've seen from most of the existing code so far, but I have noticed a few cases where people don't seem to agree on how to format. Specifically, some of the web config files seem to use 2 spaces for indentation, and some of them use 4. So I've just suggested that we normalize that to 4 spaces, because I think that's the default setting of Visual Studio anyway, and that's what most of the config files use. So if there's general agreement on the specifics that I'm proposing here, then I'll just go ahead and do like a big reformatting commit where I normalize everything.
So I agree with all the recommendations. The only issue we'll have is again breaking all the PRs.
But actually, I think it's less of an issue because it's only 3 or 4 config files that don't follow this convention.
Yeah, that's probably less than changing all the line ends.
Yeah.
Okay.
So far from every file will be affected. It's just actually a few of them.
The VS settings, I'm doubtful about its usefulness, because I've never used the VS settings files myself. But I have a but. At the same time, I used to have 2 different sets of settings, meaning I would have a special link on my Visual Studio to open a different environment for Visual Studio where I would configure the things. So that could make sense. I could have used this. Now I'm using Rebracer, because it's easier to manage per solution than the VS settings. So I don't know about what people think about the VS settings, if it's necessary.
Let me say something about the VS settings. First of all, you can create a VS settings file that contains only these affected settings, so it doesn't contain all of the Visual Studio settings, but just the formats for these files that we want to agree on. And the second thing is, it's very easy to automate this in Visual Studio so that you can, for example, have a keyboard shortcut that loads in one such formatting file and another that loads in another. So the way I have it set up is actually when I work on Orchard, I just press Control-Shift-3, and that imports that VS settings file.
Okay. I didn't know. Then it's fine. Yeah. If we can also document that would be great. I didn't know about that. I will create 2 different environments and load 2 different shortcuts of Visual Studio. That's a pain.
Yeah, that sounds painful. I wouldn't do it that way. There's much easier ways to do it.
Good.
But whether we create a VS settings or not is sort of the step 2 of this. First is just agreeing on the specifics of the guidelines and then reformatting, which is what I want to do now for the release.
Yeah, Rob is mentioned. Yeah, I assume else catch finally on new lines, but also the curly braces on the same line. That makes sense because this is what we are using.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm told you I'm fine with that. If anyone has any objection.
Yeah, just one small addition, but it's kind of funny that we are talking about such things. But the Visual Studio default for text files, for plain text files, is to have tabs actually, while the default for all code files is to have spaces instead of tabs. So this is something where I think we should do the same, even if it's different from rest of the code files, because text files are not really code files.
What text files do we have? Like README files and such, you mean?
Module manifest, but we support the 2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those, true.
Then we explicitly support the 2 of them, and we explicitly, I think, use spaces now.
Looks that way.
And the parser handles tabs and spaces. But we have spaces even the text files in this case.
I wouldn't mind agreeing on tabs for these files specifically, and I also wouldn't mind doing the work to change it. But that would affect a lot more files, I guess, because I guess most of them have spaces in them right now.
Yep. And I think it was on purpose. We changed it. Oh, this one is tabs. Maybe this one is too old. So we have a mix. Tabs. I would suggest to use So should we change them? These ones.
Well, changing all of these is pretty inconvenient, but since the VS default is to have tabs, it has a high chance that every change will introduce tabs, and this actually happens because I have fixed a lot of these mismatches.
This one has tabs and spaces. Yeah. Okay. So let's change them as tabs. The modules, the manifest files. It won't impact any PR, I assume. That's fine.
Okay, will do.
And seriously, doesn't changing it to tabs mean that you have problems working in other editors, though?
I've never had any trouble with tabs in any other editors.
Have you tried something like Vim or something like that?
If there's any editor out there that doesn't handle tabs, I wouldn't download it. I think such a fundamental thing. But
isn't the issue just,
I do use Sublime and Atom a lot, and those both work. Oh, sorry, Sergio. What was that?
No, I was just mentioning, I think the only real issue with different editors is if you have mixed tabs and spaces in a single file. But as long as it's just spaces or just tabs, it should be fine.
And yeah, Notepad++, Notepad 2, Sublime, Atom, the ones I've tried, they all handle tabs perfectly.
Transace, no tabs.
Yeah, why are we changing to tabs in the first place in the manifests?
So, as I explained, the Visual Studio default is that just for text files, for plain text files, they use tabs.
Oh, that's the Studio default.
Wait. What does it mean? If I create a new file in Visual Studio, it's empty. There is no space and no tabs and no chars.
But the difference is what happens when you tab. When you mark a selection
I see.
of text,
So when you
indent
tab, okay, I see. What's the behavior of tabbing?
Yes.
Okay. And if you tab in a text file, it will create a tab and not spaces. That's what you mean. So
depending on the editor setting, but the default is to do that. Yes.
But okay. But this issue is not about defining what the tab key does in Visual Studio. It's about defining what we need as a convention for the content. If the tabbing is actually including a tab, then, and if we say, no, we want spaces, and people should type spaces. That's two different issues. Do we want to rebind the tab to spaces? And what do we want as separators in the files? There are two different issues.
Yeah, true. It's just having them one and the same is a big convenience.
Sure. What do we want in the files? Tabs or spaces? Or do we want tabs just because the default of the tab is, you see?
I defer to the collective wisdom of the committee on that. But.
So Nick and spaces it is then.
Nick and Bertrand say spaces. We need a vote. Awesome. That's awesome. I love it. Okay. We never do votes. Let's do a votation.
This is a crucial question, seriously.
But yes, and that's good.
Nobody laugh.
So should the manifest files, and by extension, most text files, use spaces instead of tabs? Okay. So we have 6 voters, right? Because we have I hope we don't have a draw. If we have a draw, we'll ask Antoine. That's the new rule of the committee. So, should the manifest files So we have, who are the committee members? We have Bertrand, I know that for sure. We have Sipke, our dictator. We have
This is not how ties work, by the way. The dictator has a.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I forget.
Yeah, it's the dictator who can.
He will have reminded us because he's a dictator. So we have Benedek and we have Zoltan, and who's the fifth one? Piotr. Okay, that's that. Okay. Bertrand spaces. Sipke.
Oh, for my vote is spaces.
Zoltan tabs.
Yes.
Benedek.
VS default. So
All.
don't override. Don't override. No, code files should be spaces.
You mean the company default, right?
Spaces?
Yeah, code files with spaces. That's the VS default.
Is Piotr here?
The VS default is tabs.
Benedek, do you want me to write tabs or spaces? I'm lost.
Wait, the VS default is tabs. Oh no.
It is.
Zoltan is trying to influence you. That's
No,
so bad.
okay, spaces.
Okay, but is Piotr here? No, it is spaces. I can't change the vote because Piotr is not here to vote, right? Or should we wait for him to vote?
What's quorum?
Well,
On such an important issue.
I think spaces. Zoltan, you lose again. Crap.
Again.
I don't know.
What was the first?
Soccer?
I think the dictator should stand up and show some leadership.
Oh, look at that. He showed the leadership. Spaces.
Yeah, Sebastian, you don't have an opinion on this question.
No,
Please,
because I don't
do
want
something.
to. I don't care at all. So that's good.
Bertrand, I like your comment that spaces are objectively better because they appear the same everywhere.
Manifest files with spaces because
What is the argument for tabs?
There is an
well,
argument.
It might be the opposite, actually, that they don't appear the same everywhere. And it's up to the viewer to use his own preference for how wide he wants the tabbing to be. So whether you prefer one or the other, I don't think is objective. I think it's highly subjective, actually.
Daniel is right because
the goal of conventions is to be consistent.
Well,
There's an inconsistency.
so then what do you think about font size?
15 consolas. Let's change it by default.
I
And
don't
line
know
length.
how that has anything to do with the discussion.
Like this. Like
It
this.
does, because it's just a viewing setting. Like whether you prefer a bigger font or a different
No,
color or bigger
No, it's
tab.
not. No, it's not.
It's the same.
Yeah, the indentation is part of the code.
Indentation
It's not-
level, yes,
It's not
but
cosmetic.
but not
It's not
the width.
cosmetic. It's semantic.
It is. No, it's totally the level of indentation. Yes, whether it's one or two levels is part of the code, but the width of each level is visual.
What you're missing is that if you do allow for spaces anywhere, you will have situations where you have both spaces and tabs, and you will have differences in indentation between different lines.
That's a separate issue, though.
Not really.
Okay, well, let's not hog the meeting on this.
Daniel.
And the current setting, I mean, if you look at existing files in Orchard, they're all using spaces.
Oh yeah. I was just questioning whether your opinion.
And has this
objectively
ever
better.
been a problem?
So
No.
also, I think we changed also the templates. Where is the template here? Module manifest to be spaces. Yes, you see, even the default templates, we changed it to be spaces at some point. It was a decision. So yeah, and whatever, Sipke is the dictator. Even if there is a tie, he said spaces. It will be sad for Sipke because there is a tie between spaces and tabs to change his vote and use tabs. That will not be consistent, so we'll assume it's consistent. And Unicode 6.3 just changed what the white spaces are, and it broke .NET. Because it broke .NET, actually. It broke the word but.NET. That's the issue. But you don't care. So, and I had another question I commented on the issue, which is, I think Nick mentioned that, should we also include the VS Code settings file for that? So when you're in VS Code, you have the good settings file. Maybe someone can do it. At least once we have documented that, we can have many other editors. Then this is done. Spectral test. Yeah, this one I wanted to talk about this issue because I promised I will talk about this issue. And so the content picker field enhancement. So the enhancement was to add a setting to the content picker field. Content picker field. I read in my mind. I read media picker field. Content picker field to only allow to pick their own content items as a setting. And I suggested to change the drop-down in the content picker field to filter things, like just show me my own values and pick an item. And he says that his requirement is to just show the user's content items. Should we provide this feature or not? And then he will do it. So the question, to repeat, is should we have a setting in the content picker settings to, like a checkbox in the part settings, or the tab in the part settings, or in feature settings? Content picker is a field. No, in the field settings, so that when we have the content picker, we can only show the owner's content items. Or should it be a drop-down so that the user decides which one he wants to see, or nothing? If it's a free feature, do we want it?
Actually, this would be mainly about preventing the user from picking content items that we don't want.
Yeah, and preventing, it's a loose prevention because there is no security. It's just displaying. We don't want him to select. Then we should enforce it also at the controller level. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Like it's a content picker where we just restrict the content items to the one that the user owns. It's restriction. Another way to do that will be to be more extensible and say we have a content picker and we can redefine what appears in this list, like using a query. And the query could be the content items that the user owns. So we could restrict. So I think today we have a restriction on the content item, which by content types or parts. Yep. Seems weird to me to have a checkbox to limit the user to his own items in the content picker. I will just provide him with a way to filter it. But he wants to ensure that to this restriction. Nobody cares?
Then we would need to have the same for the media library picker, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was actually commenting on the media library picker, saying there is already something which is the permissions, and you just set the permission, and the media library picker will just behave this way. So there is nothing to do for the library picker.
Well, I see. Then probably we should sync the possible user experience of the content item picker with the media library picker. So then definitely yes.
Shouldn't it be a permission? No, it should not be a permission. We could make it a permission, actually. Pick own content item or pick others content items. That's weird. Let's see that, but it will be the same for all pickers. So you think there should be an option for that? Pick own content items only?
Yeah, well, I think this is something indeed that would depend on the use case. So it's good to have it as a setting, not as a general permission that would be current for all the content item pickers in the system. And anyway, if you are an admin, you can change the content item picker settings. So no issues with permissions.
Okay. I will update the comments. Good. Other questions? No demos today. Because I didn't work on Orchard 2 and nobody else wants to show something, and it's time. Last question before we close the meeting. Did I miss something?
Yeah, somebody wants you to look at 2 issues.
What?
I don't really know the guy, not sure what he wants.
Oh, you know the guy, I know.
Yeah, it may be phishing, so don't click on those links.
Thursday. Unless, well, we'll see. Yeah, if it's blocking that. But I will look at it before Thursday then. Okay? Good? Okay, see you on Thursday. Thanks everyone.
See you on Thursday, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.